Greetings, Builder, and welcome back to the Lapis Kingdom. I am the Blue Regent, and today we have a pretty cool project that I'm excited to get started on. This is going to be a two-part project, and we are going to get started on the town center for our village today. The function of the town center is going to be to hide a villager breeder, which we're then going to be able to link up to our trade hall and get a more efficient trade hall set up. Today we're going to be working on the outside / main body of the town center, so if you're ready, grab your work boots, grab your tools, and let's get started. The first thing that we're going to work on is we're going to build this foundation, and the foundation is going to come out one from the rest of the build. So as you can see here, the foundation for the house is flush with the rest of the house, and this, to make it look a little bit more sturdy, we're going to try having this come out a little bit farther. I want this building to have a relatively large footprint. I'm gonna ignore where the stairs go for now, because that might take a little working to figure out how that goes, and that actually doesn't go there. Now I actually like the idea of the terrain kind of swallowing this up just a little bit. For now I'm gonna leave this. But yeah, for now I'm going to have this little bit of hill kind of swallow this up a little bit. One thing that I always think is super important is if you get to an edge, you kind of have one of two options. I could have either carried the dirt out one more through here, or do what I did and remove these dirt blocks and replace them with brick blocks. I don't think there's a wrong answer. However, I kind of like the idea of the way that this looks right here. You know, you kind of get a little exposed foundation just because there's a slight change in the elevation. If you live somewhere that's kind of like hilly, like a hilly town, or live near a hilly town or city, that is a great way to kind of get an idea of how buildings and how architecture deals with terrain changes and elevation changes, because you'll see stuff like this. How, you know, if this is ground level, and then as ground level decreases, well, the building has to exist somehow, you know, so either the foundation gets built up, or what they'll do is they'll build up the earth and then shore up the earth with some kind of like wall or something. So, you know, this is one way to do it, have a real deep foundation, but I could have just as easily evened out all of this dirt and then built up some kind of like shoring to hold the dirt in place. As I've been filling this flooring in, I've kind of been thinking these two buildings sit on the same height, and I think when we start building actual settlements, like the actual like Warcraft inspired places, I think the goal is going to be to usually have this building sit a little higher elevation wise all of the time, just to kind of like give it a little bit of extra prominence. If everything's going to be based off of the game art from Warcraft 1, then for the most part, you know, there's a castle in the game, and that is the castle that is in Stormwind. It's Stormwind Keep. So, you know, this is going to be the prominent building in any settlement, which means that, you know, if this is the town center, it should also kind of feel a little fortressy. You know, between this and the barracks, they should be kind of like the main buildings of the city, which means that they should sit in a little bit more prominence. Now this gap right here, I'm trying to decide if I want to use stone brick steps to kind of blend these two together, or if I want to use stone brick wall. I kind of like that. I kind of like that because you get this like almost crenellated, like it's a castle wall look. This just completely covers it up. And I think if I wanted to do this, then I should have brought the floor up higher. So I think the walls win. Over time, as I'm walking past this, if I start to think to myself, I'm not sure I like that, you know, I'm not stuck with it. I'm not bound to having done this, I can always it can always change too from settlement to settlement, because I think that the materials that each settlement's town center is going to be made of is going to be impacted a little bit by the size of the settlement. A settlement like a city like Stormwind, I'll deal with this. Their town center, they're probably going to have more than one, so they'll be like more like district centers, and they're going to look different than say like Goldshire. And Goldshire's town center is going to look different from say Grand Hamlet. You know, Grand Hamlet, it's kind of implied in Warcraft, Orcs and Humans that Grand Hamlet is like one of the biggest settlements outside of Stormwind, and so their town center might rival one of the district centers in Stormwind. So I had to push the road back, and I figured this was a perfect opportunity to kind of have a visual for what I was explaining about when we were over here talking about these kind of like extreme elevation changes and ways that you can handle like the dirt and everything. If you want to have an extreme like a flat surface of dirt in your city, like let's say that this is a really big city and I wanted to keep this hill and build on this hill, but I also needed to cut into the hill a little bit. Well, I can basically shear off part of it so I have a nice straight line, and then I can use walls just like this to reinforce it. And that would hold, in theory, everything in place. This is another way that you can deal with extreme elevation changes without having to completely terraform everything. And it's totally acceptable because this is a thing that happens all of the time in real life. So the next step is to start building up the walls. Just like the bulk of everything else we're building so far, the placeholder block we're using is diorite. And I know that I said placeholder, and that's for a reason. I've recently I've heard, you know, a little bit of like, oh, why use diorite? You know, diorite looks bad. And I say diorite looks bad if you tell yourself it looks bad. I know it's not always like a super popular block to use in the community. However, any block can be anything you want it to be, you know, as long as you give it the right framing. And, you know, I've talked about this before. Diorite isn't going to be the only block that is used on these walls. Diorite just happens to be, of the blocks that are going to be used, the thing I have the most amount of access to, because I'm mining right now. You know, ultimately, these walls are going to be more dominantly white wool, maybe some snow to look like a plaster put over stone, and the diorite is going to be mixed in to look like parts of it are kind of like cracking and flaking a little bit. And I do have a little bit of snow, I do have a little bit of white wool, but I have a ton of diorite, and it's super easy to get. And so this is going to be the color of the village until we get like our white wool farm going. If you like the way the builds look, but you're not sold on diorite, you could put anything in here. You know, anything could replace this. If you're building in creative, just use white wool. Use white wool, use snow, use bone block, use whatever you like. You know, you're not locked in. Anytime you watch anybody build anything on YouTube or see a build that you really like on, like, I don't know, Instagram or Pinterest or DeviantArt or any of the other places that people post their builds, if you like a build but you let yourself get turned off by the blocks that are used, that's you're kind of inhibiting yourself on what you could be doing. You know, you could decide that, oh, well, I want to build this, but I want to build it with like oak planks instead. Do that. You can do that. You know, the diorite just happens to be something that I have a lot of, and there's still going to be some mixed in once our block inventory increases. It's just this is like one of the easiest resources for me to work with right now. So this is going to be roughly what this looks like. Now, that's a lot of diorite. And if it wasn't diorite, that'd be a lot of literally anything. So now I want to break it up and start adding some other colors going in there. And I think the first thing that I'm going to work with here is the doorway. I think I might want to use some stripped spruce. That's simply because I think I want I don't want it to match this. If I use stripped oak, it's going to be essentially the same color. And I know that the pattern isn't going to be the same, but again, that whole palette thing. Anytime I can keep the palette varied, even just a little bit. Yeah, and that's enough of a difference from if I end up using spruce doors. Wow, I built that way too tall. I made that really... Why did I make that so tall? Have you ever done that? Where you just go crazy building stuff? I need to fix that. That's that's crazy. I wasn't even paying attention. Just gonna do a little bit of this. There we go. Now the rest of the build is the right height. Just that doorway was too tall. Wow. Okay, well, for a second there I had... Oh, for a second there I was like, what did I do wrong? Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Now a thing I do want to do in these big corners is add a little bit of this action. Yeah. And the reason I want to do that is it's going to add a little bit more support because the middle is going to stick up a little taller than everything else. Now, do I want to do that in these corners? Because then it would kind of mirror this a little bit. I think I do. I think I do want to do that. How much space does that leave me up here? Oh, plenty. Yeah. I think I want to do that in all of these corners. So I'm going to run around and add these oak supports in all these corners. And this just is going to break up kind of the color monotony again, and also just adds a little bit more structure to everything, helps it feel a little bit more built up. It breaks everything up a little bit, and it's a little less just blinding to look at all of that diorite. Now, another thing that I can do here is go through, and this is kind of what helps hold it in place. Obviously, these posts are like buried into the ground. But again, this adds a little bit of a 3D element that sticks out a little bit farther than the rest of this face. Oh, that's what I can do. Oh, I've got an idea. Okay. I know what I'm going to do. On these real low ones, just did that. And then through these buttons up here, where these walls were. If one side's going to have that, I want both sides to have it. I think I like that, and it kind of gives it just like a real nice like footing space. And so like these areas where the ground is higher, obviously this post is buried super deep in the ground, and so all we have are these fasteners here. But in a place like this, where if this sits really low, we'd have like this kind of thing to kind of help keep it in place. Yeah, I think I like that. It's weird. It's weird, but I like it. Oops. And it just gives it kind of like a more reinforced foundation, I think. So I want oak going that way. I want that to happen because this is going to build up this central part's second story. So this is going to carry across. And if you're wondering why I'm using the dirt part there, it's just a space holder. Wow, somehow I managed to do that without running out of wood. That's impressive. So yeah, so this is going to be a second story, and that's a pretty big space. Do I want to pull that in one? And make use of these? Ooh, that's a tough decision. And make it feel a little bit more like a tower. This is a big space. I don't really know what I would do with that much space. I think I will keep that. I will keep it, and here's why. From the outside, I have these nice little nooks, and I think that will be nice to fill in with some like fence gates or fences. So that's good. That'll be nice for decoration. So I think I'm gonna keep those, and it's just gonna be a big space. So to save resources, I use slabs on the floor of the second floor, just like I did on the first floor. And I've discovered a dilemma with that thought process, which is this gap right here. And I should have known that would have existed. Plus now, as far as lighting goes, hanging stuff from here is going to be tricky. So that's a thing I'm going to have to deal with. I'll figure this out. This is a funky one. I also know I'm going to want some sort of support in here, because right now this just feels really big and open. What if I did like a carryover like this and just kind of brought this interior space in just a little bit like that? I think that's a start. And then maybe I could do some like stripped spruce logs here and here to make like a secondary doorway. So then this would be like a waiting area, and then you'd come in, and this would be like where like problems within the village are like heard, almost like a courthouse kind of thing. So I think I accidentally trapped an Enderman in here. Sir? Hello? Do you need help? Let me... How? How did you get in there? Just gonna put that right there and stop doing that. Get out of there, you weirdo. I like this. I like the way that these corners look. The interior has a little bit different palette than the exterior, which is nice, but there are some carryovers. It adds a little bit more like meat, I guess, to the build. This gives the idea that there's like this internal ribbing structure sort of that helps support the second story, and also just kind of breaks everything up. Do I lose a little bit of space in here? Yes. But I don't care, because this room in particular doesn't need to be that big. So this just kind of helps break everything up a little bit, gives it a little bit more character. I still don't know what I'm going to do with the ceiling here. That's kind of annoying, but I'll figure it out. That is a solution. I basically just did a bunch of upside down stairs all around the outside, and so it kind of brings it up. Maybe I'll use some fences in these corners as a support. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I do. I like that a lot. I'm not quite to the interior yet, but this is a thing I needed to figure out. I brought this in a row, and that is for two reasons. Now we have this nice kind of like pushed in 3D thing going on here, and also it cuts down. See how you have like this like dimension in there? It just adds a little bit more shape to everything. I just like that you have this like dimension thing going on here. Okay, so ignore the dirt scaffolding. This is roughly what this is going to look like from the outside. So now to put the roof on, and we're going to go with the standard granite and polished granite. Okay, so if I start with polished granite first, and I carry it, I start it here, and then I can build underneath that. I can have like fence posts or fence gates or something in there. And it's not like a real extreme roof, but again, if the idea is that all of these roofs are kind of representative of a place that it doesn't get a lot of precipitation, it doesn't need to have a harsh slope. This is a thing we've already talked about. So I like that it doesn't have a massive overhang. Do I want it to go one past this support post? Yeah, I'll carry it out one more. So there's one roof done. And one thing that I like about, because of the fact that we went with a double door, I like that the roofs are going to have this 2 across gable. I really like that. I like that a lot. Everything else is an odd number, and so this kind of changes it up a little bit and just changes the skyline a little bit. And yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm a little torn. On this first roof that I did, I brought the roof out 1 from the support post, which would be then 2 from the wall. On all the rest of them, I didn't bring it out past the support post, so it cuts off at the support post. Part of me says this is a really hard ending line right here if I do it like that. But part of me also feels like this comes out a little bit too far. I don't know. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on it. Maybe I'll sit on it. And in the meantime, I want you to tell me if you like this version where it stops at the support post, or if it comes out past the support post. So let me know in the comments what you think about those two, and that'll help me make that'll definitely help me make that decision. The second story roof I want to do a little bit different, and I'm not 100% sure how I want this to go. So I'm kind of thinking that this is gonna come out like this. And then definitely these in the corners. Like this. Do I want a slab here too? I do. Okay. All right. I think I've got this. So and then that'll come up. This is a weird one for sure, but I think this is how I want this to work. Okay, I think I'm figuring this out. This is weird. This is weird what I'm trying to do here, but I think this is how I want this to go. Okay, so that's the rough idea. So then this one comes here, and then this would sit on the top. I've been thinking about good block colors to mix in with these roofs, and you know, a theme that I want to continue, and I always want to exist with this whole run, this like Azeroth inspired series, is that it's, you know, when we get to Stromgarde and start building Stromgarde, I want Azeroth to seem not as like built up or opulent or something, and so that's when I really want to rely more on like bricks and stuff in the roof. And so I've been thinking of colors to add to these roofs when we want to start breaking them up a little bit better, and I think terracotta might be the way to go. It's still kind of like this pinkish color, but I think that's what I want to use when I get to that point, to kind of like mix in with the rest of this to kind of break up the color a little bit. I just noticed something. Let me see here. This should technically be this, shouldn't it? To keep our alternating, it should. Okay, it doesn't look right from up here. That doesn't matter because why would we be looking at it from up here? It needs to look right from down below. So there. Now let's take a look at it. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, I don't have these carrying past the support posts for now. Just like all of this down here. And if you like it better when it goes one more past the post, let me know in the comments and I will add that. I'm up in the air about it. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm just going to kind of sit on it, but in the meantime, you know, if you're watching this and you're like, "Oh yeah, you should definitely carry that out." Just let me know and I'll do that. No problem. I think I will carry those down. I think, you know what? And I know how I'm going to do it. I think that's how I want to do that. If you can see, I brought this corner, I came down one more a little bit to give like the illusion that this is stacked too high as well. Let's see if I can get that at a better angle. So so you can see this is where the original granite slab was, and then I came down one more slab height like that. And I'm considering putting a smooth stone slab here in the middle, but I also might just leave that open. I'm not sure yet. I'll think about it. But I like that. I think I like that better. It just adds a little something. Using spruce fences and fence gates, I'm creating this design. You see a lot of people do this in different ways. This just helps break up a large face by kind of bringing it in a little bit, and now I have several different like depths going on here. If you notice, I have like these solid blocks here, and then the walls, and then the fence, which is even thinner, and then the fence gates, which are even thinner, and then I have this even more recessed space in here. So I just have a lot of different depth going on, which is just a little bit more visually appealing than just having like a big blank face like that. So here is where we're stopping today. And I feel really good about this. It's a nice two-story building. It has, you know, some cool dimension stuff going on with all the different walls and fences and stuff. I like how it comes out a little bit farther at the base. And the interior is started. Obviously, next building episode, this is when we're going to finish it. But I like where this is going. I like this nice interior part here. The upper part isn't finished yet. This room's ceiling is not done, and there's a reason behind that. This room is going to be overhauled to look significantly different than the other three rooms. I'm keeping it a secret for now, but this room is going to have a function to it that is going to require it to be set up a little bit differently. And then all the ceilings and the other ones mirror this central ceiling. So it's a perimeter of upside down stairs and then slabs filling it in. And that just kind of adds a little bit of extra height to it. If we come outside, this is what the upper part looks like. It's just barrels across the top, kind of carrying over this theme that happens over here, but this time it's at the top. And then just a row of oak planks. You know, it's kind of just tie the buildings together. And I liked the idea of this upper area being wood instead of the stone with plaster over it, simply because of weight reasons. Obviously, the higher up you build, the more stone you put, the heavier everything is going to be. So the idea is kind of just once they get to this point, they just kind of finish that part off with wood, just to cut down on weight and also to like save on resources. That is going to be it for today. Next week we're going to be working on the interior, spend some time get it decorated, and figure out where exactly we want to put the villager spawner to get it all set up for moving villagers around once they've been spawned. I look forward to seeing you next time in the Lapis Kingdom. Have a great day.